Hello everyone. Global factors. I know I said I would do global factors and I would also do quality management, but I'm just going to do global factors. So this is the only one that you're going to have to do, so please do it well. Hello Year 12. We are on our second last of the operations strategies and it's global factors. I know I said I would do quality management, but I think we're going to do that on Monday in class together. So global factors, this is it. So listen and answer the questions well. Okay, so here we have an overview of global factors, and you'll see in the syllabus there's 4 dot points: global sourcing, economies of scale, scanning and learning, and research and development. So if a question asks you about operations strategy, or you want to talk about operations strategy and global factors, they would be the 4 dot points you would talk about. 2 of those, of course, we've seen before: global sourcing and economies of scale. The other 2, and research and development. In fact, scanning and learning is probably the only completely new one you haven't seen before. So the overview is it's about globalisation, which means businesses looking for cost-saving opportunities. It's an external influence. Everybody else is doing it. There's nothing you can do about it, so you have to keep up with everyone else in the world. And also you have to manage it really well, because there are a whole lot of additional risks when a business goes global rather than just operating in their own country. Right, so we start off with global sourcing, which we've seen before. We saw it in supply chain management. Buying or sourcing inputs from wherever suppliers best meet your requirements. Of course, that may be that it's from a low-cost supplier, but, not always. Relationships are really important. I mean, is the quality right for what you want? Are the lead times right? Is the relationship right? Is this somebody who's going to deliver on time and in the volume that you want? And are the lead times going to be what's going to make your customers happy? Remember, when you're dealing with a country from overseas, the time for shipment can be a lot longer. Overall costs will decrease if you find the right supplier. Of course, the opposite can happen if you find the wrong one. There's going to be issues, of course, with communication, language, quality, and really just a loss of control. I'd like you to have a look at the Apple case study, which talks about this global sourcing issue. And your question is, so your first question to answer is, explain the benefits to Apple of using global sourcing. And this way you're going to be able to link a case study back to a question on global sourcing. Another of the global factors is economies of scale. We've seen economies of scale before, so you should be used to it by now. I've just put EOS there just to make it a bit shorter, so there's just a shorthand version. So taking advantage of large-scale production overseas to decrease your unit costs is a factor of globalisation. So the larger your business, the cost of making each individual product decreases. You want to keep in mind too that Australia is a very, very small market. We only have a very small population, so businesses, they can actually manage to so they can saturate the market fairly quickly. So to grow any more, they often have to go overseas. And going overseas might allow them to have larger facilities. They might be closer to raw materials, which might be cheaper, a cheaper labour supply, and also just have a much larger market opportunity than what they would have just in Australia. And volume discounts as well. When they're buying things in much larger quantities, they usually get much bigger discounts. So when a business increases in size, the overall cost per unit decreases, which you've already said, and this can decrease overall costs. It can be also through a joint venture, and we do these Australian businesses do these quite a lot. They join with another business, so a joint venture or a strategic alliance. And in that way, it's not just the one business getting the advantage, but both the businesses together are getting the advantage of the economies of scale. Again, I'd like you to have a look at your Apple case study to see how they take advantage of this, and they do in a very big way. And then your question here is, explain how Apple uses economies of scale to achieve a competitive advantage. Okay, so here's the key word there, competitive advantage. Okay, another one of the factors, global factors, is scanning and learning, and this is one we haven't seen before. And it just means that you're adopting best practice, so the very best that you can find from wherever it is in the world. It means that business managers, they must be constantly looking around to see, and often they'll have to look overseas, to identify and learn what the critical global trends are that may impact on businesses. Just remember too that businesses from overseas would look towards Australia as well to see what benefits we might have that they could use as well. Suppliers is of course a really big one. You might find much better and cheaper suppliers overseas. You want to lower the cost of inputs, you might be able to find that. Technology, someone else might be using something that's useful to you. Some services that are from overseas that you might be able to use. And also you have to keep up with changes to environmental and labour laws. It's obviously a reason why a lot of businesses do business overseas, because the laws are different, and sometimes it can significantly reduce costs if you manufacture overseas because the laws are different to what they are here. I've just put an example in here as about Shanghai, which for a long time was a place where a lot of businesses from all over the world did business. The costs, though, of doing business there are starting to get a lot higher. So businesses are now relocating to another part of China, and apologies to my Chinese student because I know I'm going to say these wrong, Zhejiang and Jiangsu. I know I've said that wrong, so apologies. You can tell me how to say it on Monday. So Shanghai becoming too expensive, so businesses relocating to where it's less expensive to do business. And this is what businesses do all the time. They're moving around trying to find where is the best place for us to get the best value we can. So the effect is continual learning, innovation, and of course maintaining your competitive advantage, because everybody else is doing it, so you need to as well, so you're not going to be left behind and lose your competitive advantage. Again, I'd like you to have a look at the Apple case study, and your question is outline how Apple utilises scanning and learning to be globally competitive. Okay, the last of the global factors, research and development. Again, we've looked at this before, but probably not in a lot of detail. Research and development, or R&D, is just to innovate products and technologies by investing in the future. So you're always looking at what are we going to be doing next. You can't just rely on one product or a suite of products to take you through. You always need to be looking what's coming next, what are we going to be doing next. It's crucial to the long-term survival of any business. Businesses, they can't leave that R&D until their product actually reaches the end of their product life cycle, especially if a number are reaching the end of the life cycle at once, because it takes a long time. R&D takes a long time and it is very expensive. So you need to be thinking about innovating all the time, or you're going to lose that competitive advantage. Of course, the disadvantage is that R&D can be very expensive and it may not result in success. Again, the Apple case study, and your question on this one is describe the steps that Apple takes to ensure new products are a success. Okay, so this is the last slide. Just a recap from the PowerPoint. Have you answered all the questions? There were 4 questions in total. And did you know what all the key points meant? Have you looked up words in the glossary if you didn't know what they meant? Also, there's some other things that you need to be doing. You should have almost finished your brown caramel operations booklet. Caramel's a nicer sounding colour. I'd like to see that finished by the beginning of week 10, so I need you to bring that in and have that ready to show me. Have you read the Apple case study? Do you know how to link it to all the dot points? That's going to be crucial for you to be successful. And also, are all your notes up to date for both finance and operations? And I would like to see those at the beginning of week 10 as well. On Monday, as I said, we're going to do quality management, and we're going to do it in class together, and we're going to follow the same format as what we've done here, as in definition, explain, describe, case study, and then link. Okay, I'll see you on Monday.